Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Many of the best known post war accounts of the Battle of Gettysburg were written by military men who participated in the momentous days of combat that decided the fate of the divided nation. One lesser known account was written by a citizen who was not at the battle and was not a historian or a professional writer. He was Jacob Hoke. Life dates 1825 to 1893, the author of the 1887 book, The Great Invasion of 1863, or General Lee in Pennsylvania. Hoke, pictured here with his wife Annie, was a Pennsylvania native and the owner of a dry goods store in Chambersburg. He had a unique connection to the Gettysburg campaign and the larger Civil War. In mid June 1863, the advance of General Lee's Army of Northern Virginia entered his town of Chambersburg, and the soldiers helped themselves to Hoke's entire stock of groceries, paying him with Confederate dollars that had no value other than souvenirs. A year later, other Confederate forces under the command of General John A. McCausland torched Chambersburg, including the building that housed Hoke's store. Undeterred, Hoke reestablished his business. You might say that Hoke's store was collateral damage of Gettysburg. In the book's introduction, Hoke details his qualifications. He writes, "The author of this work has attempted to discharge, in a measure, the duty indicated in the foregoing. His qualifications for the task is that he has undertaken, and may be stated as thus. He resided in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, during the entire period of the War of the Rebellion, and for a score of years previous, and ever since, he not only witnessed all the armed hosts, Federal and Confederate, which passed through that place, but had access to their camps and hospitals. He preserved important papers and kept an account of events with the dates of their occurrence. He visited the field of battle and noted facts and incidents. He has corresponded with others, both Federals and Confederates, competent to impart important information, and he has made it a point to read and preserve everything related to the subject, which has come under his notice. The material, thus carefully gathered, he has compared, classified, and placed upon record in the following pages. He has been especially careful to be exact in the facts stated and in the dates given." I want to share a passage in which Hoke cleverly describes the scenes inside the headquarters of Lee and his chief adversary, Major General George G. Meade, commanding the Army of the Potomac. Hoke begins, "General Meade has made his headquarters in a small frame house, 16 by 20 feet, on the western brow of Cemetery Ridge, near the center and alongside the Taneytown Road. The situation was such that it seemed to be sheltered from exposure, and from which the commander in chief could easily communicate with all parts of his lines. In that unpretentious cottage, in the evening, after the close of the bloody battles of this day, the Union chieftains were assembled. General Meade had called them together to take into consideration the situation and advise him what was best to do. The questions submitted to them were: first, under existing circumstances, is it advisable for this army to remain in its present position or to retire to another nearer its base of supplies? Second, it being determined to remain in its present position, shall the army attack or wait the attack of the enemy? Third, if we wait to attack, how long? To these momentous questions, the following answers were given as recorded by General Butterfield, Meade's chief of staff. General Gibbon: first, correct the position of the enemy, but would not retreat. Second, no condition to attack the enemy. Third, until the enemy moves. General Newton, first, correct the position of the army, but would not retreat. Second, by all means, not attack. Third, if we wait, it will give them a chance to cut our line. General Hancock, first, rectify the position without moving so as not to give up the field. Second, not attack unless our communications are cut. Third, cannot wait long, cannot be idle. General Howard, first, remain. Second, wait attack until 4 p.m. tomorrow. Third, if the enemy do not attack, attack them. General Sedgwick, first, remain. Second, wait attack. Third, at least one day. General Williams, first, stay. Second, wait attack. Third, wait a day. General Birney, same as General Williams. General Sykes, same as General Williams. General Slocum, one sentence, stay and fight it out. Of the corps commanders, two, it will be seen, were absent from this meeting. Reynolds was dead, and his honored remains were at his former home at Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Sickles was undergoing the amputation of one of his legs in a neighboring hospital. The council was held after a desperate and bloody battle of the 2 previous days, the first of which had been a disaster, and the second without material advantage to the Union Army. It was reasonable to assume that as the results so far had been rather in favor of the Confederates, that they would repeat their attacks the next day, and that their most desperate and deadly blow was yet to be delivered. With such momentous results hanging over him, with the destiny of a nation in his keeping, it was but prudent and right that General Meade should call together the men upon whom he would have to depend and ascertain their views and secure their counsel. And it was right, too, that he should have every preparation made to carry into immediate execution the decision they arrived at. Hence, he came to this council with an order to retire to the line at Pipe Creek previously selected, prepared by his chief of staff, General Butterfield, to be used only in case the reports from his corps commanders made evident the necessity of changing the field. This was a wise precaution, but General Meade has been unjustly criticized for it, and his enemies have tried to make it appear that he was timid and undecided. But when this council was held and the universal sentiment was to remain and meet the issue upon the field, he at once decided to remain at Gettysburg and fight the battle there, which decided the fate of the Confederacy. Before closing this chapter, it will be of interest to the reader to take a look into General Lee's headquarters in the night after this day's series of battles. A Southern officer who was present there describes the scene in the Southern bivouac. He says, about 10 o'clock at night of Thursday, July 2nd, while conversing with General Rhodes, the writer received a note from Reverend Dr. Pryor, a chaplain in Ewell's Corps, informing me that I was wanted at Army headquarters. These were situated near the Chambersburg Pike. In riding through the town, it was filled with Confederates who, soldier-like, were busy in preparing their meals all along the streets. They appeared to be in the highest spirits. On reaching Army headquarters, it was crowded with staff officers from all quarters of the field. All seemed gratified with the results of the day. Certainly nobody looked gloomy or despondent. Pickett's division had arrived from Chambersburg and was posted in line. About 11 p.m., all faces were made cheerful and all hearts made glad by the arrival at headquarters of Generals Jeb Stuart and Fitzhugh Lee. General A.P. Hill came in, shaking hands with his friends, and as soon as the commanding general heard the voice of General Hill, he moved through the crowd and, shaking Hill by the hand, said, "It is all well, General. Everything is all well." And taking Hill aside, spoke to him privately for nearly a quarter of an hour. The commanding general looked well. He was all himself and never appeared to better advantage. This was the first time the writer had seen General Lee since the night of the battle at Beverly's Ford, June 9th. It was 1 o'clock before Colonel Marshall announced my name when General Lee arose and said, "I am expecting General Imboden in the morning, and I am desirous to send to Virginia at once as many of our wounded as possible. Dr. Pryor has told me that you and Captain Brockenborough are acquainted with the fords of the Upper Potomac, and I want you both to report to General Imboden at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Colonel Taylor will issue the necessary orders." I informed the commanding general that Dr. Pryor was mistaken, that neither I nor Brockenborough knew anything of these fords except the ones at Shepherdstown and Williamsport, that we were both well acquainted with the fords of the Rappahannock, but not of the Potomac, that Mr. Logan of Winchester, who was in Rhodes' command, was well informed on the subject. Turning quickly around, the commanding general said, "Hunt up Mr. Logan and send him to me at once." He was full of business, and his strong mind and intellectual energies were taxed to their utmost. The fences all around headquarters were lined with soldiers who had participated in the struggle of the day, relating their experiences. The writer remained with these until the morning sun appeared on Friday, July 3rd, when he returned to his command. So there you have the research and writing of a man who was a citizen, was not a professional historian, but he was someone who had a keen interest in the fate of the Battle of Gettysburg, the fate of the armies that were involved, and wanted to do his best, again, as an amateur writer, to be able to account for what happened based on his best research. It's Jacob Hoke, the citizen writer of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.